Hello guys, welcome back to another video in the Finance with Python series. This is Anirudh here, and today we're going to be looking at the portfolio variance analysis. So, what is portfolio variance? It is basically, a key measurement that is used to quantify the risk associated with a specific portfolio. So, a portfolio has a lot of, let's say, stocks and other commodities. So, a portfolio variance is able to measure the dispersion of returns in the investment portfolio, which accounts for key factors like individual asset risk variances and how different assets move relative to each other, which is called as a correlation between any two assets. And so, in order to calculate the portfolio variance, let's first take for an example of two assets. So, in our portfolio, you have only two assets. Um, so, in order to calculate the portfolio variance for that, this is the formula where W1 and W2 are the weights associated with asset one and asset two. So, weights, as in it is basically the percentage of the portfolio which is allotted for asset one, and W2 similarly is the percentage of the portfolio allotted for asset two. So that is W1 and W2. Then we have sigma 1 and sigma 2, which is the individual variance of the asset. And then we have rho, and rho is called as the correlation coefficient, which basically gives you a number which indicates whether the assets are positively correlated or negatively correlated. So if it's greater than zero, it's positively correlated, which essentially means that, let's say, if asset one and asset two have a correlation of zero point 0.8, which is a very strong correlation, it just means that when asset one's price goes up, asset two's price will also go up. So that is what the correlation coefficient indicates. And when it's lesser than zero, it just means that they are negatively correlated. So when asset one goes up, asset two goes down. So that's done. And this is the given formula for when we take the example of two assets. But in an ideal scenario, we won't have just two assets. We'll have n assets, right? And when we have n assets, we can calculate the portfolio variance as this formula that I have pointed out here. It is essentially the summation of the weight and sigma and the individual variance whole square plus 2 into the whole summation of the weights of every single every pairwise weight along with its correlation. So WIWJ, right? So if you have, let's say, three assets, then W1, W2 into covariance of 1, 2 plus W2, W3 into covariance of 2, 3 plus W3, W1 into covariance of 3, 1. And that's how you compute this. And computing this part is very straightforward. It's just W1 sigma 1 square plus W2 sigma 2 square plus W3 sigma 3 square. That is done. And if you just apply n equal to 2 in this formula, you just essentially get this formula. I think you can just back test this formula and check this out. So that is done. So now let me tell you guys how you can actually implement this portfolio variance calculation in Python. So here I've just imported NumPy, and I've just allotted random standard deviations for these assets. So I've taken a one tech stock, one energy stock, and one real estate stock. That's the assumption here. I've taken the allotted some deviations for each of these. So 0.5, zero point 0.4, and zero point 0.3 for these three stocks respectively. And then I'm defining a correlation matrix. So this matrix is able to tell us how different stocks move with respect to each other. So let me just show you a visual representation of this. So I've just used, Seaborn. Seaborn is a very powerful visualization library, and it has a feature called as the heat map. So heat map is able to, give you very aesthetic graphics like this. So here you can look at the correlation matrix in a much better manner. So here we have, we can see the three stocks and how they're correlated. So tech is correlated with energy. Tech's correlation with energy is 0.6. Energy's correlation with, let's say, real estate is 0.3. So out of all of these correlations, we can see that when the tech stock increases, the energy stock is also bound to increase because they show a very strong correlation. It's above 0.5, it's almost 0.6, right? So that is a very strong correlation. Such stuff can, help you to see, identify strong correlations. So instead of looking at a correlation matrix in this manner, you can't understand much from it. You can't see where is tech, where is energy, which one indicates real estate. But doing plotting it with using a heat map can simplify a lot of stuff because you have x-axis and y-axis markers along with a color gradient here. From right from dark to light. So that's done. So I'm taking the correlation matrix and we compute the covariance matrix over here. So correlation matrix into the standard deviation is the covariance matrix. According to the formula, you can break this formula down. I'm just broken this formula down part by part to get the compute these individual parts, and then we find the portfolio variance. So when we perform this calculation, this is just the weight matrix transpose into covariance matrix into weights, into the weights matrix. And when you compute that, you just get the portfolio variance. That is a very simple calculation and it's possible with NumPy, of course. And then you can look at the covariance matrix, which is 0.25, 0.12, 0.06. So all of these indicate the risk associated with every asset that you're investing in. Okay, so now we are looking at the covariance matrix, right? So here there are a lot of interesting things that you can visualize, that you can look at. So you can see the diagonal elements 0.25, 0.16, and 0.09. All of these represent the individual variances of the assets in the portfolio. So you can see that you're just squaring the standard deviation. So zero point 0.5 square, zero point 0.4 square, and zero point 0.3 square is essentially the diagonal elements. And that is just sigma that we've used here. This one, sigma. These are the sigmas. And then 0.12, 0.06, and 0.036. These are the covariance between any two given pairs of the assets. And since all the covariances in the matrix are positive, it indicates that the assets are somewhat positively correlated. As in, if asset one moves up, asset two and asset three are also moving up. So they tend to move in the same direction, right? And then we can also look at the portfolio variance value with along with the standard deviation. And a standard deviation of 35% almost indicates that the portfolio experiences significant volatility. And a higher standard deviation also can suggest that there is more potential for returns. It can either be positive or negative. So since there are a lot of fluctuations in the value of the assets, it can result in either a lot of profit or a lot of loss. So it just means that there is a higher level of risk involved with all of these assets, but there is also a potential for higher returns. But in the covariance matrix, you can see that all the pairwise covariances are positive, which means that all the assets are somewhat correlated with each other. So in a portfolio, ideally, the assets that you allocate should not be positively correlated, because if one of these stocks get hit very bad, then all of these are bound to get impacted, right? So all of them tend to go down. So that is a big problem. And generally, it's advised that you want assets in your portfolio that have low or negative correlations, so that even when one of these commodities takes a very bad hit, at least the other one will go up, right? So I've just done like a brief analysis of what this covariance matrix indicates and the numbers over here. So that's that. Now let's try to plot this covariance matrix. You can see that. So this is the heat map for the covariance matrix as well. Um, Last thing I want to add is there are a lot of examples for correlated industries, right? So oil and airlines is a very common example. So whenever the price of oil goes up, the airline cost is directly impacted, because if you want to fly a plane, you want a lot of oil, and hence if the oil price increases, the airline cost also increases. Similarly, you can correlate the cost of steel along with the production of cars, because to make a car you need steel, which is a direct raw material for making a car. And hence, you can get correlations like this. I think that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.